We'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome you to the Monday, December 9th, 2013 regular meeting of the Marquette City Commission. Would everyone rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, could you call the roll of the Commission, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Commissioner Cambenzi.
Here.
Commissioner Campana.
Here.
Commissioner Coyne.
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Here.
Commissioner Ryan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse.
Here.
And Mayor Nemi.
Here. Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, are there any agenda changes necessary on the agenda? No, can do consent agenda. Hearing none, is there someone who will make a motion to approve the agenda?
I move the agenda be approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Coyne. It's moved by Commissioner Ryan, seconded by Commissioner Coyne to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. The agenda is unanimously approved. Let's see, the next thing is announcements. I don't think I have a listing of announcements, but we still have a number of vacancies on city boards and commissions. I don't have the list here now, but so I won't bore you with it. But there are a number. We're making some inroads, but still there's a number of vacancies, and certainly probably each day there's other terms that end. So any citizen wishing to volunteer for a board and commission, contact the city manager's office or contact any city commissioner, or look at the city website. There should be an application on the website, and certainly we'd encourage anyone interested to apply for a board and commission. Certainly that's an integral part of how the city gets its work done, and we certainly value the input and the volunteers who assist the city. I have no further announcements, so we'll proceed with the first item on the agenda, which is a public hearing for Ordinance 609, a publication and communication ordinance. City Clerk, would you read the background item,
Yes,
please?
Your Honor. Thank you. Marquette residents are entitled to accountable and efficient government exemplified by public participation and transparency. To achieve such openness, city staff must make public information readily identifiable and accessible to citizens. As technology has changed rapidly in recent years, the number of platforms residents use to consume as well as respond to city information has increased drastically. The proposed communication and publication ordinance is required by city charter and will ensure a fair and even distribution of city information while allowing city staff the flexibility to adapt the municipal communication system to accurately reflect the habits of residents for obtaining information. City staff prepared the draft ordinance, which was presented to the City Commission at the November 21st, 2013 work session. Under the proposed ordinance, city staff will promulgate administrative policy governing publications and communications. By way of example, policies promulgated in accordance with the proposed ordinance may stipulate appropriate conduct on social media, create a system for how to broadcast information to the community in a fair and easily accessible fashion across all platforms, establish a system for responding to residents in a timely fashion regardless of a communication platform, and dictate acceptable employee use of city data and technology. As required by city charter, the City Commission will every 3 years review the established system and make suggestions for change. Fiscal effect none. Recommendation following public hearing, consider adopting ordinance number 609, publication and communication ordinance. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. I'll now open the public hearing on Ordinance 609, Publication Communication Ordinance. Anyone who desires to address the Commission on this ordinance, please come to the podium or the lectern in front of the Commission. Give your name and address, please.
Frank Jeff Verito, 350 East Ridge, Marquette. These are my opinions. The first sentence of your supplement reads, Marquette residents are entitled to accountable and efficient government exemplified by public participation and transparency. It's beyond irony that you'd word your ordinance this way the meeting after Misters Coyne, Nemi, Stonehouse, and Campana stole an entire comment opportunity from every participant and from every viewer in town. Your supplement further deals with residents obtaining information. From whom? The answer is from people who see the world the same way you do. The document further reads, the purpose of this ordinance is to provide for the establishment of administrative policies governing all information and communication of the city of Marquette. Residents expect government openness as a means of public trust, transparency, and public participation, end quote. Presented here tonight at the very meeting after you censored an entire comment opportunity. Your ordinance continues, transparency promotes accountability and efficiency. You wrote this well knowing that the public record is riddled with examples of the contrary. You demonstrate your accountability and your transparency by censoring the public. Mr. Coyne himself said that 3 minutes isn't enough to compose a comment, yet he voted to take 3 minutes, leaving us with only 3 minutes total. Not enough in his own words. That doesn't provide transparency. 4 of you voted as you did to avoid accountability, not to promote it. This ordinance reads like a document that's designed to protect you from legal liability, as if the Commission's history backs up these sincere virtues. It's utter mistruth. Your item A states your mandate to comply with the Freedom of Information Act and the Open Meetings Act, when in fact Mr. Nemi, Stonehouse, and Ryan are on record September 12, 2011, disrupting those very processes. My notes from that night read, they want to change the rules to manipulate the limits of citizen comment and to be able to screw up without being held accountable for themselves. Your item C identifies the need for, quote, appropriate methods for solicitation of public feedback to identify information of greatest utility for public deliberation. You cannot accomplish this aspiration by censoring an entire feedback opportunity at the only venue where the public can get the word out. Item D reads that you offer opportunities to participate in policy making and to provide government with the benefits of collective expertise and information. You can't accomplish this by ignoring mountains of pertinent information just because it comes from an enemy or differs from your big money philosophies. Your document is beautifully worded, but in reality is a compilation of lies, all to cover 4 of your selfish hides.
Mr. Berto, any other citizens wishing to address the Publication Communication Ordinance number 609? Anyone else want to address the commission during the public hearing? Hearing none, I'll close this public portion of the hearing, and it's an opportunity for commissioners to address the Commissioner Ryan.
Support.
Yeah. We usually do a roll call on this. We usually do a roll call on this, just so you.
Yes, I was just going to say, this is really moving us into the modern era. There was a time we would put something in the charter that said we had to publish something in the mining journal every time we had a meeting or something special coming up, and this just allows other ways for taking advantage of new methods, new technology to get word out about actions being taken by this commission. And it also allows those changes to occur on a routine basis without having to revise the charter every time you want to do it. So I think this is a good, solid step forward. It still provides overview by the commission on the plans developed by the administration to implement it.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Kembenzi, do you have any comments?
Nothing further. I think Commissioner Ryan did a good job of explaining the importance of it.
Okay. Any other commissioners want to make a comment regarding this issue? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. Again, the motion is to approve the ordinance, moved by Commissioner Ryan, second by Commissioner Kembenzi. All in favor say yes. Oh, roll call vote, yeah. Mr. Clerk, you may take over.
Thank you, Your Honor. Commissioner Kembenzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Campana, Commissioner Coyne?
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes.
Commissioner Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
Yes.
And Mayor Nemi.
Yes. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing on the Ethics and Code of Conduct Ordinance number 610. City Clerk, would you read the background item on this, please?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Background, Section 6-13 of the City Charter specifies 1 year after the effective date of the Charter, the City Commission shall adopt an ethics ordinance entitled Ethics and Code of Conduct, by which all persons in municipal service, including members of the Board of Light and Power and employees thereof, whether compensated or voluntary, shall abide. The ordinance shall encourage such persons to place the public interest above self-interest. City staff researched information from the Michigan Municipal League, the State Attorney General's Office, and other municipal ethics ordinances, and developed a draft ordinance first presented to the City Commission at their August 21st, 2013 work session. Based on discussion at the work session, staff made modifications to the draft ordinance and again presented it to the Commission at their November 21st, 2013 work session, and based on discussion at that work session, staff made further modifications to the draft ordinance. A final draft was read at the City Commission's November 25th, 2013 regular meeting, and it is presented for consideration after holding a public hearing. Fiscal effect, none by this action. Recommendation following the public hearing, consider adopting ordinance number 610, Ethics and Code of Conduct. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. I'll open the public hearing on the Ethics and Code of Conduct Ordinance number 610. Any citizen wishing to address the Commission regarding this ordinance? Name and address, please.
Oh, I have to give that every time now?
Name and address, please.
Frank Jeff Verito, 350 East Ridge, Marquette. These are my opinions, and for the public, the rules have changed under the new mayorship. These are my opinions. Amazing again that you'd list an item called Ethics and Code of Conduct on your agenda the very meeting after you stole an entire citizen comment opportunity. Behold this quote from your preamble. The citizens of Marquette are entitled to have fair, ethical, and accountable local government that has earned the public's full confidence for integrity. This is the latest example of your use of virtuous statements to conceal mistruth. This after you stole 3 minutes specifically to avoid accountability. No way does the average Marquette citizen believe that this board earned the public's full confidence for integrity. Your document mandates that public officials be independent, impartial, and fair in their judgment and actions. To this end, the Marquette City Commission adopts this ordinance to assure public confidence in the integrity of local government and its effective and fair operation. Am I supposed to be speaking through the chair, Mr. Nemi, or you're not even looking at me? You're down.
I don't have to look at you, Mr. Verito. I have ears. I can hear you. If you want to address us, address us.
That's extremely discourteous. The document further states that you shall avoid any action which might result in or create the appearance of item 4, a lack of independence or impartiality of action, and item 6, affecting adversely the confidence of the public in the integrity of the city. Let us clarify that you are not the city. The city has plenty of integrity that 5 of you lack. Regarding independence and impartiality, let us revert back 2 weeks when Mr. Campana relied on a single opinion from Mr. Coyne to base his misjudgment on. The item revolved around the theft of a public opportunity, yet I don't believe Mr. Campana knew this was to be discussed for the same reason I didn't, because the changes weren't outlined in the blue as the explanation said they'd be. In fact, the library's copy indicates that we still have 2 3-minute opportunities under section VB, hardly transparent. And Mr. Campana ended up casting the deciding vote. How impartial was Mr. Primo when he voted to approve a 6-story tower that he had every intention of bidding on? As in the case of your publication and communication ordinance, you provide excellent wording with no history to back those words up. Again, this ordinance reads like a document that's designed to protect you from legal liability. It is a smokescreen to conceal allegations against certain members. The document is designed to misrepresent the truth through a compilation of fallacies to protect yourselves from accountability, not to promote accountability. We need this code of ethics enforced, which you've purposely made harder to accomplish by stealing half of our general comment time, in addition to the 2 stolen minutes last year. 4 of you censored us to keep facts and allegations regarding your integrity from reaching a wider audience. Does this fit your definition of ethical?
Thank you, Mr. Verito. Any other citizens wishing to address the commission on the ethics ordinance number 610?
James Gallant, Scandia, 538 Yalmer. There's a couple issues here that that should be addressed by you before you adopt this ordinance, please. And one is, it says the intent of the ordinance says that you shall avoid any action that might result and create the appearance of giving improper or preferential treatment to any person or organization. And that seems to be exactly what you just did by eliminating your second public comment in your rules of procedure, because based on the suggestion of Commissioner Coyne that the citizens have all these other options, they can call you personally. And then you can give them preferential treatment or not, or you can take their call or not, or you can block their call or not, or whatever you want to do. But that's the preferential treatment part. And but this is important. And now, hopefully, this is going to be enforceable. And it says adversely affecting the confidence of the public integrity of the city, and which is it. It comes down to personal relationships. It's all about community connectedness and personal relationships, and that's improper for public officials and public decisions. This is not personal, your own personal, this is public sector, not private sector corporation. And also, it says personal opinion. It says an officer or employee shall not represent his or her personal opinion as that of the city. Now, I've seen this many times. It's done by Ron Keefe, the city attorney. It seems every time that somebody calls for a point of order, that this is in the past, I guess this is a new commission, but then hopefully this will change, is that you call for a point of order, and then the mayor would say, well, what do you think, Ron? And he gives his personal opinion. Wait a minute. He's an attorney. He's a parliamentarian. He should be given a written legal opinion on the subject. And the order of the point of order is such that there are duties and responsibilities of the chair, and that is to read the written rule onto the record and to the clerk to write verbatim into the minutes the written rule that was questioned, to say, what's the point of order here? What are the real rules here? Instead of what is the current practice or whatever we've been doing, or what do you think, Ron? It's, no, what is the written rule? And this hasn't happened over several years. I've been tracking this for 4 or 5 years now. And that hasn't happened. And I would ask you to please start doing that. And Commissioner Cambenzi did say that she was concerned about the part about the point of order and precedence of points of order and how that is being conducted by the city. I ask you to please review into that. And also in the last part, it says about sanctions, which I don't find in here. There's no part that says any repercussions or sanctions against somebody that violates this ordinance. Or is there a form you fill out to file a complaint again for this ordinance of some sort that somebody can actually have it addressed, looked at? Or is it only during the 3 minutes one time during your meeting? And it says, in addition, the city commission may adopt guidelines for the commission in their rules of procedure. I would ask you to say shall. That this commission shall bake in the rules of procedure a protocol for file a complaint, get an answer, have it reviewed, create precedents, and just make sure it doesn't happen again. And then we just start doing it in an orderly fashion. That's all I've ever asked for from all of you people, ever. And I guess this could be my opportunity to apologize for any ill will or bad feelings that any of you had about me coming here and trying to get this in order. Because, the commissioner said that a lot of people don't want to join your boards and committees because they're attacked. That's not what I'm told. People tell me they don't want to join your boards and committees because the rules of procedure are very iffy and sketchy, and it becomes a big waste of time. If you're not the politically connected, if you're not the chair, I've watched them. I've watched them in your planning commission. I've watched them around. I've had a variety of your boards and committees I went to. And it's like the chair. The people believe that they elect a chair to make the decision for them. And so I would ask you to please to make one addition to this and to change the part that says may adopt guidelines to the commission shall adopt guidelines for protocols and how we can orderly address the issues and orderly create precedents and move on. So there won't be no arguments, and there won't, or as many arguments and attacks, which you folks seem to be. You see, you know, I've seen the people that do attack you sometimes, and a lot of that is because they're not getting any answers. It's like, come over and, oh, it's very specific and very legitimate points, but no answers. And so this is the way that we can get an answer. If you shall adopt some sort of remedies, some sort of way to make this happen. It's kind of like, yeah, this is gonna happen, but there's no remedies. Please consider amending this today to say shall instead of may. Thank you.
Mr. Gallant. Are there any other citizens wishing to address the commission regarding this ordinance? No other commissions wishing to address the commission? Then I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, what is your desire on this ordinance? Commissioner Ryan?
I'd like to move we suspend the rules for further discussion.
Okay. Do we need a second on that, Mr. Attorney? Okay. Is there a second? Commissioner Convenzi?
I'll support.
Okay. I don't think we need to vote on it, though, do we? Okay. All in favor say yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no?
No.
Okay. The majority voting to suspend the rules? It's 5-2.
Did we?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. 2, Commissioner Stonehouse, Commissioner Ryan voted no? Oh, right. Or, yes, Commissioner Coyne, I'm sorry. So we are suspending the rules. Commissioner Ryan?
Yeah,
Discussion?
I'd like to say a couple of excuse me, a couple of things. I think this, first of all, I think we need an ethics ordinance. I realize the charter says that, but I'm not against the idea of an ethics ordinance. I think it's a good thing. Secondly, I think we've come a long way. We've spent a lot of time on this in work sessions, but I'm still not completely convinced with everything we've come up with, and I just want to give us an opportunity to talk about it. In the preface, we list about 6 different things which are very redundant with the things we list in section 1, colon 2-60, part B. You know, and I have a problem when we talk about, and it starts out any action which might result in or create the appearance of giving improper preferential treatment to any person or organization. I guess where I come from is, number one, we're passing a law. This is a law that we're passing. And number two, I don't think there should be ambiguity in a law. And I think that's a very ambiguous statement. You know, and I think the reason it's serious is because, you know, if you're accused of violating an ethics ordinance, you know, that's pretty serious stuff. I mean, that really is, to my mind, very serious. Any person serving on this commission or on any committee of the city is deemed to be an officer or official according to these rules. So, you know, to say that you cannot give improper preferential treatment, you know, that's what we do. It's not improper, but we're often called upon to represent constituents as we come before this commission. I mean, we're contacted individually by constituents. We're contacted by groups. And, you know, someone might say, well, that's improper. You're representing them. And, you know, impeding government efficiency or economy. Who's going to determine what that is? What does that mean? A lack of independence or impartiality of action? You know, who's going to make that judgment? I just really question, and as I say, this applies to any person serving on this commission or on any committee or commission of the city. And so, you know, I think it's going to raise real questions in the minds of a lot of people. Well, I'll leave it at that. I have some other concerns, but my primary concern is that whole section B, and I think it's redundant with the preface.
Commissioner Ryan? Commissioner Stonehouse?
Question of council. Did that section come from state law? What's the basis for including it?
And I also asked the city clerk who worked on this with me, but I believe B comes from the model that the AG used. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, yeah.
In other words, that's a suggested
Language.
language as employed by the Attorney General of the state of Michigan.
Correct.
Mr. Coyne?
I would, we have had 2 work sessions on this. I would point out at each work session, we had opportunity for public comment. I would also point out it was not televised, therefore there was no public comment. And the purpose of the work session was to develop this. And that's why we had 2, because we didn't like the first one, we did the second one. I agree with Don in that the first 6 items are redundant, but the reason they're redundant is we asked the city manager to do that because the average person looking at this ordinance will fall asleep or their eyes will glaze over trying to figure out what rules they have to follow. And why we wanted that right up front was so someone could look, here is the ordinance and here are the 6 things that you have to do to be compliant with the rules. So it is purposely redundant to allow people to see it clearly. And in terms of the concern about improper, I can't find this here, just one, improper preferential treatment. I personally have experienced, there is proper treatment, and I think representing an individual is not improper when they call you and say, my street isn't plowed. I can say, well, I will have the city manager look into that. That's not improper. But I don't want to go into a couple examples in the past where I have served where it is clearly improper what a city commissioner has done. Improper. There are such things. And that's why that's there. And I think that's appropriate to be there because they do exist, and it becomes very clear to all the commissioners that it is improper, what an individual has done. Thank you.
Commissioner Busy?
Well, I'd like to thank Commissioner Ryan for his comments. I tend to see this as this is our first draft. I think it's good from where we started. I think we took a lot out. We certainly leaned on our clerk, our city manager, as well as our attorney to kind of get us to a place that I guess is palatable for someone looking to come on board and serve the city. And that's what I see this as, is a very clear document legally that sets the bar for people that want to serve on the city commission or be appointed to a board or committee. Certainly if we go down the road and there's something that's not working, we can change it. I don't think any of us want to, make something that is so, I guess, misleading that people don't want to serve. But I think this is a good start. I think it lets the community know, I guess, what they'll be held to should they come on board. And I think it's good. And I'm going to certainly vote for it. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Busy. Any other commissioner having a comment? Commissioner Ryan?
I also have concern about section 2.268, which says, and I'm going to change the word just so we understand it, except as otherwise provided in the Michigan Constitution, 1963 statute, or in this ordinance, a city commissioner or a member of a city committee shall not engage in or accept employment or render services for a private or public interest when that employment or service is incompatible or in conflict with the discharge of the officer with the city commissioner or city committee's official duties, or when that employment may tend to impair his or her independence of judgment and action in the performance of official duties. I substituted the word city commission and city committees just to make it clear, but that is in fact who it applies to. So I don't know how, to me, this could read that, you can't work for somebody if you're serving on a city commission or on a city committee it makes it very difficult to get people who are employed to serve. Certainly they should declare any conflict of interest they have, but it should not prohibit them from serving on a committee. But to say they cannot accept employment,
Coyne? Are you done, Commissioner Ryan? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Coyne, did you have a, okay. Commissioner Stonehouse?
If I can inquire again of the clerk of where that specific language came from?
Again, a good portion of this ordinance was drafted based on input from research that the Attorney General has published and put forth for a model ordinance along with the Michigan Municipal League or other ordinances.
So in other words, Section 2.2-68 compatibility and conflicts of interest is from that background.
Yes.
Commissioner Campana, do you have some comments?
I would agree with Don that it's not clear cut, but it seems like this has been thought out and researched, and it's as good as we're going to get. And if somebody does, if there is a problem, I think then it becomes a point of proving that the person has done it. So it's not clear cut, but it, if there is a problem, it'll be brought out. So I would agree with this ordinance. I think it'll work. Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other commissioners? Commissioner Coyne?
I do have one in follow-up, and perhaps Commissioner Cambenzi can support me on this. The previous charter was basically terrible in terms of this particular issue. And rather than the Charter Commission rewriting it, we wanted the Commission to rewrite it in the form of an ordinance. Because the previous one, it was inadequate and not clear and useless, I thought. And we asked that in the charter that it would be an ordinance so it could be changed. And if we find after a week or 3 weeks or 6 months that this is not working, we can change it. And we don't have to redo the whole charter. And so this was a lot of work, and it may not be perfect, but I think I'm going to support it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coyne. Any other comments? Any other commissioners? Yeah. Yes, Commissioner Ryan.
I agree that we've discussed this for a long time, and these are items I've brought up before, and I didn't expect to change anyone's mind tonight. But I prefer to think for myself, not just, accept some model comes from the Attorney General. And I read this to be ambiguous, and we're talking about an ethics ordinance, and we're talking about involving all of our committees and our commissions, and I think we're making it very complicated, and to say, well, let's just take a try at it, I think you get it right the first time, and I don't think this is right, but I know it's going to pass, so I've said all I'm going to say.
Commissioner Ryan. Well, I guess I'm going to have my say regarding this. Certainly, I support this. When the commission met with the Charter Commission, it was one of the comments that I had made that I wanted to see this required in our charter, and we do have it. I think Commissioner Ryan makes some excellent points. I think there is some vagueness in some of this, and I think some of that is the nature of the beast, because we're not. It's not just where you exceed the speed limit by 5 miles an hour, which you can quantify. It's what people do, what happens, stances, positions people take, for good or bad. So I think sometimes the topic is necessitates vagueness, which isn't necessarily the best thing. But I think an advantage here. I think you also make another good point, Commissioner Ryan, about if a person is charged with violating this, we don't have an ethics board, so you're not going to have citizens who have an axe to grind running to an ethics board, creating an investigation. To be frank, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to investigate this. Perhaps the city attorney can address that in a few moments, how this ordinance would be enforced, who would be the point of contact. Lastly, I think the section on 2.2 268 incompatibility and conflicts of interest. I personally like that because there is a state statute that prohibits us from holding incompatible public offices, but there is nothing in the state statutes that I'm aware of, and certainly not in our ordinances or our charter, that would prohibit a city commissioner or a member of a board and commission holding employment which would be a conflict to the fiduciary duty they have to the public. For instance, if I were to take a job which dealt with working with city employees, like the city engineer or the city manager, that would be a definite conflict where I'm working with them, and I'm also technically one of their 7 supervisors. That's a natural conflict, and we don't have anything in our rules or regulations that prohibit that, and I think that needs to be addressed. Yes, I think this is if there are problems, certainly we can change it. It's not as easily changed as policies, but it's much easier changed than a charter. I'm willing to support this, and perhaps before I call for additional discussion or the vote, could the city attorney, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I guess I'm going to, how exactly is if a person thinks a public official has violated this ordinance, what would that person do?
Well, they would probably bring it to the attention of the administration like they do any other thing they feel has been violated, whether it's this ordinance or any ordinance. As far as enforcing the ordinance, which is where I thought you were going, there's a provision in the charter that talks about misconduct by city officials, and there's a procedure even in the charter for the city commission to make those determinations. There's also a state statute where the governor can remove in certain egregious situations. So that's all set up. And then the incompatibility of office is all state law. A lot of this stuff, even though it looks vague, is state law. And probably why the Attorney General used it in his model ordinance. But I think there's a process for doing it, just like we do it in any other way, for any other thing, rather.
Thank you, City Attorney. I guess one last comment I wanted to make. When we talk about the preface and preamble, those are guides to, they explain the purpose of the ordinance, what the ordinance perhaps is going to accomplish, and are guides for us. Those are not enforceable portions of the ordinance. It's where it says the city of Marquette ordains. Anything after that, it has the force of law. The preamble and the items before that don't have the force of law. They certainly are probably prescriptions on how we ought to behave and how we ought to act. But if you violate the letter of one of those, if it's not below under the part where the city of Marquette ordains, you're okay, or you're not in violation of the ordinance, because that's not part of the ordinance. It's just fluff, I guess, at the start of the ordinance. But any other comments? I've gone on long enough. Commissioner Kambenzi.
Just one last comment, and that was, I know when I was on the Charter Commission, there were certain instances. I mean, Commissioner Coyne has a few when he certainly served on the City Commission before that borderlined, some of these violations, and I've certainly seen a few on our appointed committees and commissions, and to me, it's something to deal with and to outline the type of behavior, ethical behavior, and certainly state statutes and law that all of us need to be following. And I feel like we can look at this as doomsday or as a simple guide to keeping us all, on our toes and using the best practice. And I think if we look at it in a very positive light, I think all of us will rise to the occasion, and I'm not convinced that we will see many violations at all with this. So I feel very positive about this. I think it's something that you're seeing in just about every city, county, government, and I think it's needed, and we certainly thought it was needed. I believe it was a unanimous vote on the Charter Commission, and again, it's an ordinance, and we purposely made it an ordinance so that if it did have issues, if things changed, if state law changed, we could easily change that. So, and with that, if I could make a motion.
Yes, we don't have a motion. You're welcome.
All right. I would like to make a motion that we hold a public hearing on ordinance number 610, Ethics and Code of Conduct.
Just held the public hearing.
Or we just adopt, sorry.
Yeah, okay. It's moved by Commissioner Gambenzi to adopt this ordinance. Is there a second to this motion? Commissioner Reynolds?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Kimbenzi, seconded by Commissioner Reynolds to adopt ordinance number 610. We'll have to do this by roll call vote. I guess if we can have further discussion. Commissioner Kimbenzi, do you have further discussion?
Nothing further.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Nothing.
Any other commissioner want to have one last stab at the apple?
Yeah, well, just one.
Yes.
Only to say, I support the idea of an ethics ordinance. I don't support this one, just so there's no misunderstanding.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Kurt, our city clerk, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Your Honor, yes. Commissioner Kimbenzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Campana,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Ryan,
No,
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse,
Yes.
and Mayor Nemi.
Yes. The ordinance is adopted on a 6-1 vote. The next item on the agenda is to hold a public hearing on ordinance 611, the real estate sales ordinance. City Clerk, would you read the background item on this, please?
Thank you, Your Honor, yes. Background, Section 10-1 of the city charter specifies, within 1 year after the effective date of this charter, the city commission shall establish a real estate sales ordinance. City staff prepared a draft ordinance that was presented to the city commission at their November 21st, 2013 work session. Based upon discussion at the work session, a draft real estate sales ordinance is presented for consideration after holding a public hearing. Fiscal effect none. Recommendation following public hearing, consider adopting ordinance number 611, real estate sales alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. With that, I'll open the public hearing. Any citizen wishing to address the commission on the real estate sales ordinance number 611, come forward to the podium in front of the commission. There's no one desiring to address the commission on this ordinance, number 611. In that case, I will close the public hearing. And commissioners, what is your desire on this ordinance? Commissioner Ryan?
I move we adopt ordinance number 611 for real estate sales.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
I will support that motion.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Ryan, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse to adopt the real estate sales. Commissioner Ryan, anything further?
Yes, this very much streamlines the cumbersome process that we had for selling surplus real estate property within the city, so I think it's a good move forward.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
I think
do you
as
have
Commissioner Ryan said, it took something that was very cumbersome, very difficult, very time-consuming, and just, I think, horrendously difficult to accomplish and made it far more efficient. So certainly fully support it.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Any comment on this ordinance? Commissioner Gambenzi?
I'd just like to thank Dennis Stakowitz as well as our city manager and city attorney for their work on this. I think this one had a lot of dialogue in our work session, and I think we did make a few changes, but certainly I appreciate their research and background going into this and the finished product they gave us. So,
Thank you, Commissioner Gambenzi. Any other comments by any other commissioner regarding this ordinance? Okay. The only comment I have is I like the idea that the charter changes the veto power where some property sold has to have a unanimous vote, and I like that because sometimes that has upheld our ability to process the city's business, so I think that's an improvement. Nothing further for discussion, then I would call the vote. City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Commissioner Kimbenzi,
yes.
Commissioner Campana,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyne,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Ryan,
Yes,
and Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse,
Yes.
and Mayor Nemi.
Yes. The motion is adopted unanimously. Okay, the next item on the agenda are two presentations. The first presentation is on the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee by Chair Walt Lindela. Mr. Lindela, would you please come to the presentation podium? Or, yeah.
Well, it's going to come up here in just a second, I'm sure. Well, good evening. My name is Walt Lindela. I am the chair of the Marquette Arts and Culture Advisory Committee and also the co-chair. I'm at battery critical level, not me, but the computer. So I don't know exactly what we'll have there with our PowerPoint, but I'm limited to a few minutes, so I'll try to be as brief as possible and get our technical things going here. But all right. Well, to start with, the Marquette Arts and Culture Advisory Committee is currently has 9 members on it, I should say, and I would echo what Mayor Nemi said, that we still do have some vacancies on that committee, and if there are any members of residents in the city that are interested in taking part, we certainly would encourage them to contact the city manager or go to the city's website and become a member. And we are looking for a couple. We have, over the last year in particular, we have had 12 meetings. One of those meetings was canceled. Beyond that, we were able to keep our schedule with that. So this is to take a look for a few moments, give you a recap on the year for the committee and also for the Arts and Culture Center this evening. A little bit of background, as I mentioned, we do have 9 members on the committee currently. There are room for a couple more by virtue of the charter, and if anyone is interested, please do take a moment and get involved with that. The purpose and goals of the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee was that it was established back in 1991 by the City Commission to serve as a conduit between the people of the city of Marquette and the government to celebrate the cultural heritages, artistic expressions that we have in the area. One of the key things with that is that you can see it says 1991 as you are discussing items this evening with changes on how to get information out and all of those types of things. There can be a lot of changes that happens in that time frame, and that will be tied into what we're doing a little bit later here in our discussion. Over the past year, just to touch on a few things that were both overseen by the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee and enacted by the Arts and Culture the center at which is located in the Peter White Public Library. There were 29 exhibits, 18 concerts, over 100 workshops, senior arts programs. There was partnerships that were developed with many different organizations, youth arts programs. The Halloween Spectacle is an annual activity that has been happening in the city now. Several special events have happened. There have been more partnerships developed between arts and culture centers around the region, as well as developing better relationships with Marquette Senior High School, also with the Northern Michigan University Student Art League, NMU Native Studies. With that, also Father Marquette celebrations and a Community 100 Day project. One of the other things that has gone out this year is that we really did restructure the advisory committee. This was a key thing that when I was selected as the chair of the advisory committee, we wanted to make sure that we took a committee that was at that particular moment mired a bit in some transition and some, to be honest, confusion with the role of the advisory committee and also the role of the Arts and Culture Center. We have worked our way through that, and we are now moving forward with strategic planning for the city. There has been an opening of a small works gallery. If you go to what used to be a basically retail outlet and a small display area in the Peter White Library, which is the Arts and Culture Center, it is now a gallery. It is for small works, and that is for exhibits that may not have quite the reach of some of the ones that would be in the gallery that is located immediately adjacent in the creative space that we have there. Also, there's been updated graphic representation of that to separate it from the library, so people that go there know that this is actually happening, and this is part of what's happening with the city. One of the things that I passed out here this evening to you is a magazine, as a printed magazine that lists most of what's happening in this year with the Arts and Culture Center, and also by the Arts and Culture Committee's virtue of overseeing that, we've allowed that to go on. We've secured funding for First Thursday's programs, and we have initiated a strategic master planning process. I'll just flip through a few of these photos here. You can see various and different activities that have been going on at the Arts and Culture Center that are both music related and creative arts related, youth groups, senior groups, all of that through the Arts and Culture Committee and the Arts and Culture Center. And we do, as a committee, distinctly want to thank the commission for the support that we have received from the city for the basically by stepping up and saying this is important to the city, and we want to make sure that we as a committee do follow through on your wishes with that. Now, as I go through more of these pictures, you can see that it's kind of quick. If you want to see more, you can stop by the Arts and Culture Center. Here's a great shot of the newly redesigned Arts and Culture Center space in the Peter White Public Library. Looks a little bit different, but that intention is there to say it exists. The Small Works Gallery, and with the recent reception that we had there. But those types of things are what are going on there. I'll just flip through a couple. You may have just seen it as I went by it really quickly, the Presque Isle sign, which was through a partnership between the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, the Arts and Culture Center, the Northern Michigan University Center for Native Studies, and NMU art students. They were able to come up with the new sign at Presque Isle, which has been received very well. Now, the key things that I want to leave you with here this evening is that our goals for the upcoming year, number one, is to complete and implement the Arts and Culture Master Planning process. Again, we thank the Commission and the City for allocating a substantial line item for this process to happen. We have formed a steering committee of 20-plus stakeholders from the committee, or from the community, I should say, from various different walks of life, everything from the business to commerce to arts to marketing. We have had one session. We will be having another meeting coming up very soon with our consultants who will be joining us after the first of the year. There will also be public meetings where members of the public that are interested in getting involved in this process, hopefully all of you, will get involved, join us at these meetings, and give us your input on not only the value of, but the importance that you place on arts and culture in the city. We will continue to advocate as a committee for city support for arts and culture programming, understanding, of course, that there isn't a lot of money to go around, and there are not a lot of, money's not falling from the trees here anywhere. But we do know that the City Commission can vote to show support for arts and culture in the city by various choices, such as waiving of fees and other moments or movements like that. One of the things that we do want to also say is that over the next year in particular, we want to increase communication and transparency between the Advisory Committee and the City Commission. Under my term as the chair, I did experience quite a bit of confusion by virtue of the new charter coming in, by virtue of new administrative members, new people, and the way things may have been done doesn't apply so much anymore. And what I would ask with that is tolerance with us as a committee, because there's a lot of us that are kind of learning the new ropes as well, as I know there are here on the commission and with the city staff. But we did have one work session with the city commission as an advisory committee. I don't think that had ever happened before. We hope to have some more of those to keep the commission abreast of what we're doing with the committee and also with activities that are going on at the Arts and Culture Center. I would entertain any questions that you may have at this time, and also if there are any more administrative toward the city type of questions, Mr. Swenson is here also, he can ask those of him as well.
Commissioners, any questions? Ryan?
I guess just kind of a question, comment. You're right. We had a work session. I think it was a very productive session. You mentioned the transition and some changes. Mm-hmm. Are you pretty confident that we're on the right track now, that we're heading
do
down the
bel-
road we should
I
be?
do believe that with the current members of the committee and some open lines of communications, we have been able to address questions that had come up. There still may be a little bit of growing pains, as I call them, but overall, between last year and now, it's night and day, and it only continues to get better.
And then the master planning you mentioned is really interesting in that it brings in some people who traditionally aren't in the arts community to get input as well.
Well, you know, that a prime example of that is my co-chair is Michelle Butler, who is known for many different groups and activities that she's involved in, but maybe not the first person in the community that you may think of when it comes to the arts and culture scene, but definitely with nonprofits and with business. We wanted her on there to give that perspective to it, but we have everything from folks with the Convention and Visitors Bureau to independent artists to architects to musicians to community development people that are on that steering committee, and be happy to meet with the commission if you have any questions about it. And we will be having a session with them very soon. I don't have the date in front of me tonight, but when we do, we'll make sure the commission is aware of it.
And just finally, on that final thought too, I think we're understanding that there are economic benefits to having a good arts and culture program in the community. Economic benefits for the community.
We are looking at that as a key thing. One thing to understand is also that with everything that we are trying to do with master planning, with arts and culture in the city of Marquette, is to put it in a position that has not only cultural experiences and benefits for the residents here, but those who visit, and also ultimately making it a place that people will come to enjoy those experiences through arts and culture that are here in the city.
Commissioner Coyne?
Walt, I don't have a question, I just have a comment. In the past year, I was very concerned about this committee, and I really have to compliment you and your leadership and the people who are now on the committee, the fine job they're doing. Reading the minutes, watching what's happening, and the interaction between you and your consultant, it's just night and day, and I really hope you will continue. It's so positive and working nicely. So thank you very much for your efforts. I think you and your committee have turned it around.
Thank you very much. It hasn't been an easy process, and again, I ask for the tolerance with the commission as we do work through some of the other changes, but as you know, with changing the charter and getting that updated and everything, we're trying to keep in line, and we're doing the best that we can, because all of the things that we feel that makes Marquette a cool city or a great place, or all these things that we use as buzzwords to market it, really are based in the arts and the culture. And when we say culture, we mean the lifestyle, the feel of Marquette. And it is to our benefit to continue to develop those and make them stronger, to make Marquette stronger on the national scene and even internationally.
Questions? Commissioner Kembenzi?
I guess it's more a question for staff, and that is, I mean, there's some pretty big grants out there, some pretty big state grants, and for the arts, and certainly they go off of what your total budget is, and the city's total budget is, over 20-some million. And we apply, I guess I should say, as a public school, I mean, we apply for these grants every year, and a lot of other organizations do, but the best thing about the public schools or the city is that you can capture the most amount of money. And this year, I didn't see the city going after a lot of that money. I think there was only one grant. And I guess as we look at the purse holders, that's one comment, because you are the brains, I feel, of what the community wants. Staff is more of the carrying it out, and I guess it's hard for me to see that applications weren't put in at the staff level for these grants yet. You guys have all these great things you want. I mean, the one I'm thinking about is a $75,000 capital improvement project. If we've got a ripped tent, or if there really is a need to get an outside pavilion built, or whatever it is, I guess I look at stuff like this because it's the talk that I hear in the community, and I see grants out there. And
I would respond to that by saying that as an advisory committee, Our role would be to give you input saying that we would support moving toward it and advise the staff to look into the details of it. Actually, for us as a committee to put down an actual application is not our role.
Right,
Our
right.
role is to work with you and say, we believe this is a good effort to follow, and we would give it our support.
Right.
But in terms of the intricacies of the paperwork and the application process, I would turn that and regard that more to staff. And there also have been some questions that have come up under our transition of the ability to apply for grants as a city advisory committee as opposed to a cultural center, so on and so forth, which are some of those things that I believe under the master planning process, we will get some answers on, which will allow us to move forward down that path.
Yeah.
Right now, the priority is the fact-finding and the gathering of this arts and culture master planning process.
Right, and that's why I directed that more at staff, and I would, just like to echo Commissioner Coyne in that, you guys are doing a good job of rising up and understanding that role, but just to put it back at staff with the amount of staff that we have and those big grants out there, I mean, I just see so much opportunity that being in the same business, it's hard to kind of watch us not going after every dime we can, because I think we've got a lot to show off here in Marquette, and we've got a good group on our committees. So I guess that's just one comment I would send back to staff. Thank you. And thank you and good job.
Mr. Svensson, would you like to say anything? Mr. Svensson, would you like to say anything? Or?
Yeah, I think it's just that's a great point. And as we look at the budget process, we take these grants into consideration. One of the things that, from a staff perspective, that's really important as we go after these things, is to match the goals and the objectives of the department up with the goals and objectives of these grants. So as we look at these things, I think we feel that the master planning process will very aptly define those goals and objectives, so that it's a better match as we go after these grants. So I think you can look to see a lot more of that in the future.
Anything further from any commissioners? No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Lindela.
Thank you.
Appreciate your presentation. We appreciate your efforts on behalf of the city. The next presentation is by the Marquette Sister City Committee, and Vice Chair John Barch will give us the presentation.
I think it probably is, because we just did that. If there's five goals. Yeah, no, that's not it. Let's just throw this on there.
Okay.
How did that happen?
I do not know.
We deleted that one and loaded this at like noon today.
I know.
Interesting. Freedom D right there. Yeah, that's it.
I'm
Just
sorry, yeah.
double click it, and then Sister City right there. And yeah, just start. Good enough. Yep. Thank you. How do I know when to go?
You may proceed at your...
Proceed at my leisure?
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks
Apparently
for
you're
your
not going to get
attention.
your PowerPoint or...
Yeah, the
Oh, there we
Marquette Sister City Advisory Committee has had an interesting year, as you guys are well aware. And, it sounds like the previous presentation was about a time when there was a little confusion and a bit of an identity crisis. And you guys will probably hear and see through the questions that I may receive tonight that we're currently in the middle of an identity crisis. So that's just a little, prelude. But currently, we do have Chairperson Robin Mackey, and we have Linda Berry, who served as co-chair up until last month. And I've been serving as co-chair since last month's meeting, mostly because somebody needed to put this together, and I agreed to do that. We've got the secretary in the house, Devin Pickens, and and we have Tina Harris as our city liaison. Marty comes to every meeting. He's an ex officio member. We also often are have graced by the presence of Paulette Lindbergh as an ex officio member. The other three, Gloria's term ended. Sue Acox and John Mello both resigned due to the frustrations and the stuff that we experienced this past year. They had had enough and decided it's not worth the headaches. So we have 5 openings on the committee right now. But we did discuss at length. We always discuss the openings, and we usually talk about who we know in the community that we might tap on the shoulder and encourage to come join us for some fun once a month. But we actually discussed that it might not be advisable to try to expand the committee at this point in time because it has been a frustrating year, and I'm not sure that expanding the committee is where we're going. We're kind of moving towards the nonprofit route, and at that point the committee may actually be dissolved entirely. But we can talk more about that. We were supposed to have 10 meetings, which is a pretty normal year for us. We don't have two months out of the year we don't have our meeting scheduled, but we actually only had 6 successful meetings due to lack of quorum. It's just been a difficult year. So this committee, not the sister cities relationships, but the committee was established in '89 to advise the city commission on issues regarding the participation of the city in sister city activities and programs. Functionally, we actually facilitate, record, evaluate the cultural exchange and cultural enrichment opportunities in the city for the citizens of Marquette as related to all the sister city activities for participation with Higashiomi and Higashiomi, Japan, and Kayani, Finland. And also, we have it in our means to facilitate the development and the same kind of stuff with any other future sister city partnerships. Therein lies the rub, I guess. We actually are the work group, and that's where the problem, I guess, lies, because we're not just an advisory. We don't act as an advisory board, suggesting that the maybe Arts and Culture Department staff carry out these activities. We've been doing it, since before the committee was established. Not we as an I, but the committee as a cohort has been actually carrying out the exchange activities. Our vision is that the City of Marquette's sister city programs will provide travel opportunities for observing and appreciating the structure, general surroundings, economic base, operation, and the daily lifestyle of each of the sister cities and its residents. We will develop long-term intercultural relationships through shared activities and experiences which enhance the lives of all people directly and indirectly involved to foster global citizenships capable of creative, cooperative, and socially responsible problem solving as envisioned by President Eisenhower. Swipe, come back when he started the Sister City programs long ago to heal the wounds of the wars. And we've been that's the vision. We want to develop relationships, long-term relationships with people in Higashiomi, Japan, and Kayani, Finland through interaction. And we do that through the creation and implementation of delegation visits, both from us going there and them coming here. And we typically carry that out on a every other year basis. So this year, the slides would indicate that we did have, maybe it's a battery thing, we did have a successful delegation visit from Finland, and we sent a delegation visit to Higashiomi. And so that kind of activity and us facilitating and making arrangements and recruiting participant delegates and all that stuff sort of went on, and it continued as it would any other year. But then at the actual committee meetings, we sat and had frustrating discussions about, what does the city want us to do? We can't carry out these activities maybe because we're then supposed to be liable and we're not being paid by the city. So how does that liability work out, and how do we access our money because the money's being held in the foundation and we can't get it transferred to the city where we could borrow a credit card and go swipe it at Econo Foods to buy, groceries to have a picnic for the delegates. We were struggling to access our money to write checks, so we had people, writing checks out of their own personal pocketbooks and waiting a long time to get their money back, and that it wasn't a big deal, but it's just a frustrating process, and we've been trying to work through how do we continue to do what we're doing anyway in a more fluent and efficient way, which it's sort of, I guess, we were doing many years prior to this being decided that it was a liability issue. So we were just doing it, and maybe not. I don't want to use that word, but not in the best way that the city would want us to do for its own liability reasons. So I'm not getting my slides back. My computer is not back on, but just to sort of talk about what we did. We sent the delegation, I think 7 people to Japan. We received, I think it was a delegation visit of 5 members from. Hey, you have my slides? Yeah, hey, look at that. Don't we love these little phone things?
I can set it up over there and rebroadcast it this way too from my station.
Off of this?
No, what I have over there.
Yeah, you can do whatever you can do to get it online. I'll just keep talking and use the iPhone, if that's cool. Thanks. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. Yeah, so we do have as our goals to organize, facilitate, and record these incoming and outgoing delegation visits. We do actually perform those activities. Look at that. And I'm on the goals 1 through 5. Accomplishments from the past year, we had the delegation visit out. It was awesome. It had a visiting artist, Laura Mays from this our area, visited over there, she set up her displays, and the Japanese people came and bought product and engaged in some artistic endeavors, and they do the same when they send an artist over here. It's really a great program. The Kayani folks visited a whole bunch of logging industry, because they have a lot of that going on over there. One of the members of the delegation is in the forestry industry over there, so there was some very enriching cultural discussions about the preservation of forests and land, and we had some discussions with the Native American Studies folks about that. It was really a great visit, and Marty sets that up year after year. He's kind of the father of that program, and still with us helping out. And then the last point on the accomplishments for the past year is that we did work with the city commissioners and trying to develop a plan for the future of the Sister City Advisory Committee and what it actually might look like. We had the work sessions. I don't know, how. I don't know. There was a lot of frustrations in these sessions because we don't want to lose the connection with the city of Marquette, but we want to be able to continue to do what we do. We don't really know how or why, or if we would have to create a nonprofit, or who would do it, or how it's going to happen. So we had some discussion about that, but I think that's where we're moving. So goals for the upcoming year. I have listed here that we should try to finish and file for the 501c3 papers to formally establish the nonprofit organization for Greater Marquette area sister city activities. So pretty much move to a separate nonprofit from the city. Then, therefore, also in this process, keeping the City Commission updated on the progress and needs related to the nonprofit creation, and we have a lot of missing minutes from throughout the year because we had a struggle and a challenge, with our meetings, sometimes not meeting quorum, but I can make a promise to you that we'll have minutes from here on out. I got them from November. They're, ready to be read. I don't know if you've seen them yet, but we'll make sure that you guys are updated on our progress, and we'll be in discussion about that process and what you guys think is best. And that's the role that I see the Marquette Sister City Advisory Committee playing at this point, is an intermediary between your desires and the desires of the folks who are really the heart of sister city activities, who are going to develop this nonprofit, probably whether you like it or not. At this point, that's where it's going, and so we can try to make it a partnership as best we can. And then also goals, I mean, regardless of where that goes and if it happens or how that frustrating whatever happens, we're going to keep these delegation visits coming and going. I mean, that's what we do, and that's why I joined the committee. That's why everybody joined the committee, is because that's the fun stuff. That's why we joined it. Little did we know that's outside of our boundaries, apparently. Yeah, and then once that happens, I would like us to revise the structure and function of the actual committee, whether it's just a liaison between the nonprofit and the city, or whether there actually is an advisory committee or something that helps the city be involved in the nonprofit. I don't know what it would be, but that's what we should do. I guess I have for discussion. Throughout this development, this process, I guess this was where I was told we should probably put the discussion item on the board, was that we need to talk about the money. The money is out there in a account with the Marquette County Community Foundation. I don't know how or why or if we would have to transfer that for it to become usable by the nonprofit. Maybe it doesn't need to be transferred. Maybe it's just that's where they hold the money, or I really don't know, but we're going to have to talk about that. And then also, I think, a way that the city may maintain highly involved and encouraging of these programs is by assisting the activities with some funding. It's always nice when we don't have to beg local restaurants to offer a lunch on the house. If we had some funding to pay for the delegation visits, it would make everything a lot easier. So that could be, a tie. And we'll always want, the program's always going to want commissioner and mayoral, presence at delegation visits and all that kind of stuff. So it's never going to detach entirely, but if it goes to the nonprofit realm, you guys will be asked for attendance, but other than that, very little oversight of the activities of the sister city programs. I guess that's all I have. I sort of put this together. I've been pretty busy this month, so I don't know if that's everything you wanted to hear. Did that pretty quick. Looked up some stuff from minutes I had, and that's what I got. That's what I have.
Questions? Commissioner Ryan?
John, I'd like to say I like your style. I really do. I like the way you've kind of laid it out for us. It's a really emotional issue. I know that with a lot of people, but you've just talked about it, and I appreciate that.
Thanks,
and
Don.
I appreciate the work session we had where some discussions were held, and I don't know where it's going to go. I don't think the public truly understands the issues, and I'm not sure we all do either, for that matter. But I think generally for the public's understanding, most of our advisory committees advise, and the city staff carries it out. In this case, the Sister City Committee does it all. They do it all, and it's a different animal, and it's created some issues within the city, and I'm not sure where it should go, but I really appreciate your efforts and those who have hung in there, because and I think you've emphasized it, but despite all of this, good things are still happening with the program itself. It's just a matter of where it's going to go and how we're going to keep it going. So I really do hope you hang in there, and because I think you've got a pretty good head, and you can kind of lay the issues out in a non-emotional way, and
Thanks.
hopefully move us forward. So I appreciate it.
I've been with it for, I think, 8-9 years, and I won't quit unless it gets dissolved. Then I'll be on the nonprofit board probably.
Commissioner Cohen?
Well, I echo thanks for your stick-to-itiveness through great frustration. And I just would ask for your committee, because it is the advisory committee and you're kind of in the middle of a struggle, but perhaps you could give us some advice, which is what you're supposed to do. And that advice would be what you recommend and the process, how to deal with the money in the foundation. 2, try to recommend a means of continuing to involve the city in this new nonprofit, with people like yourself to be representing the city but on the nonprofit board. And we have many instances where we have boards or I can't think of the name where
I think the orchestra or the was mentioned as maybe an example.
well, we have like the water and sewer treatment. We have representatives. On the solid waste, we have representatives from the city on there that we appoint, and I think that's a way of kind of continuing the relationships, and also recommendations for funding opportunities, and that would be very helpful if you as a committee could do that, and then we could then have a work session kind of concomitant with whatever transpires with the group that wants to make a nonprofit, which I think has some real merit, but I think it doesn't have to be to the exclusion of citizens in Marquette being representative on that, that are accountable and would work and would eliminate all this junk we're dealing with. And I would hope that you could come maybe at the next couple meetings with some solid recommendations. Otherwise, those things are going to come from us. And
Attend a commission meeting?
Well, no, a work session, or just make your recommendations at the meeting, and then maybe have a work session. But if you don't do that, then you're going to that committee's going to be kind of excluded from the decision-making process. So I think it's critical for the advisory committee to give us some advice to help us work through that process. Okay, so I really appreciate all of you for sticking in there, because this is very difficult. Thank you.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Only to say thank you, too, for sticking in there and echoing the comments, both the Commissioners Coyne and Ryan. It's a tough time. Better will come. Believe me, it will come. And we certainly want to keep the strong involvement with the city. But it's just going to have to take a different form, and we'll get there. But thank you for being so open, and I think so clear in where we are and what the challenges are. Thank you.
Commissioner Kane-Benzie?
Well, I think it's kind of funny that we're talking about dissolving a group that we appoint, and we've only had a work session or 2 on this. So we have not officially decided or voted that we are dissolving them, which I think causes huge confusion with your committee. In fact, I feel like we're wasting your time, and I'm going to apologize for that.
I think that's why a lot of people resigned and didn't come back after their term. They felt it was starting to be a waste of time, and that they would just hang out with the people who carried out the delegations outside of the committee.
And I think as a commission, we have not been very clear. I think it's one of the coolest things I saw this summer when I attended the welcoming for the Finnish delegation was that you had a group of people here to learn something from us. They were here to learn about how we utilize, produce, sell, bring our forest market to consumers. I mean, they were here to learn from us, probably as well as teach us something. That's huge. I think what's getting lost in this is that there are these economic development and learning experiences going on. It's not about art. It's not about just sending an artist over. But I think that needs to be the mission. I think the money part, we've got it figured out. We had that figured out the first work session. We as a city commission can deal with that. We can run money through the Arts and Culture Department. I think we as a commission have not been extremely useful to your committee. I don't think we've given you any direction other than we've had 2 work sessions with you, and we've talked about dissolving your committee. and we're talking now about you starting a nonprofit, we haven't voted to do that. We haven't communicated with the public. And I, again, apologize because I think on our part, we're jumping to conclusions unless all of us right now want to take a vote on it. I think we've got a lot of work to do. And I think we need to figure out if there is interest in the surrounding jurisdictions to start a 501c3. This is a huge task. This is a huge task to start a 501c3, to file the paperwork and to do all the work unless we're going to supply some of our employees to help with this. Because what I do not want to happen, and the reason I will not vote to dissolve this committee, is I do not want us to lose these relationships. They're 30 plus years going, and I will not vote to dissolve them unless I see the strongest commitment from our entire Marquette community coming forward and saying we want this. So my suggestion is that we as a commission sit down and we determine what we want, because I think we can utilize this advisory committee to bring us the things we're looking for in the arts and economic development. And if we want to go out and start different sister cities and spin off of this, I think that's how we do it. I do not think we dissolve them. And I feel very strongly on that. And I guess I want to give that message to John and Devin and certainly the rest of your committee members that, I don't know, I'm in this for the long haul, and I'm certainly willing to work to make this work for you guys and for the city, because I think it brings a lot to us. I think the message is getting lost, and I don't think we're giving you any direction other than we may dissolve you, and it may be better for you to go and start a 501c3. Because you know what? There's nothing telling me it would be better right now. So my suggestion is that perhaps the mayor and the mayor pro tem could sit down with the city manager and you and the other co-chair and come up with some solution on where we're going with this, because I feel like we're wasting your time, and I don't want to waste anyone's time that wants to serve the city. Thank you.
Commissioner Reynolds?
I'd like to also thank you for what you do, John. I agree with Sarah. Exactly what she was about to say, I was about to say. I didn't have the opportunity to be at those work sessions because I was just elected, but I would recommend that we hold a work session with you and your other co-chairs and hopefully be able to help you and guide you and come up with something, because I would not be in support of dissolving it in the current situation as well.
I guess if I can continue the discussion a little bit, if we were going to hold a work session, it'd be really helpful if, like, right at the beginning of that, we knew what a possible structure within the city would look like to continue the function of what we do, because that was never made present. And I guess maybe I completely misunderstood it, Sarah, but if the solution is to funnel money through the Arts and Culture Center, that's news to me, because we're still at the idea that the solution is to funnel it through the Rotary or the YMCA. And we were kind of given the impression that it wasn't possible to do it the way that you suggested, which would make a lot more sense. We also are still at the, from my understanding of the work session, we would still then be at this situation where there's a group of volunteers on this committee carrying out the actions as it was, I guess, the initial information to the public. That would have been the problem. And so where does that structure end up? Who gets paid to do the work that we would just advise? I don't know. So without, having the work session right now and trying to figure that out, I think that everybody on the committee would be skeptical about coming to another work session without having a little bit of time between a few people up front to talk about, is there actually a solution? And that would have to happen relatively quickly, would be my recommendation, because the federal papers have been written pro bono, and the state papers are being worked on for the 501c3 development, because the people who carry out a lot of this grunt work and helped create and have their heart and soul in these sister city relationships, were actually in line with what you were saying, where you would like to see this go, and were pretty, to my surprise, persuaded to move towards the 501c3 throughout the past year. And it took a lot to get them to move their mind in that direction. And they're great but somewhat stubborn people sometimes. And I don't see you turning it back around without some quick movement and alternative solutions, just to be frank. And I don't think that you get to vote whether it's going to become a 501c3 or not. They're going to make the 501c3. And then you get to see if you can't keep your committee involved in what they're doing. Because, I mean, that's just, to be honest, that's how it's going to happen. That's where it's going right now. And sure, I can stay appointed to a committee that, communicates with you as an advisor. But that doesn't mean that the people who want this 501c3 now aren't going to make it, and that's going to be the controlling body of all of the relationships that we have with these sister cities. I mean, that's just, you can't stop that. And that's what a lot of these people didn't think they wanted, and they were, now persuaded to believe that was the solution, and that's where it's going.
Commissioner Ryan.
I don't think it's good to turn this into a work session now, because we're not prepared for it. But I'm hearing what you're saying, John, and what Sarah's saying too. I think this commission needs to take action soon. And I don't know, the work session, I think, I'm not saying we want to meet without them, but I think we have to figure out what it is we want to be first, before we sit down with them again. And I think we have to answer that. Where do we want to be? And whether we get there or not, we ought to figure it out what it is we want to do. And I'd hope we could have a special meeting to talk about that soon.
Other comments? Commissioner Kamenzi?
Well, I just want to point out that one, the money would stay at the community foundation, but two, any appointed member cannot request those funds. So simply having the Arts and Culture Department request those funds would be legal. And I think we figured that out pretty quickly. My second comment is that the people filing the paperwork are not appointed to our committee right now, correct?
That's correct. They can't.
Okay, so this is where I feel like we really need to get this straightened out, because I think what we're sending to the community is a pretty awful picture, and it's one I'm not very proud of.
Maybe only in this meeting. From most people's perspective, the sister city relationship will continue indefinitely. People won't let it die. I won't let it die.
I think for our sake, we need to, if we're going to dissolve this committee, we better have a good reason, and certainly something out there that's going to take it over.
I think we're kind of getting far afield here. We're we're going into detail, like Commissioner Ryan said, on a work session. I guess unless there's some crying comment that needs to be made, I think we've kind of beat this horse to death. I haven't said anything. I just want to throw out there, perhaps Commissioner Kamenzi's idea of myself, the Mayor Pro Tem, maybe one other commissioner sitting down with the manager, and a couple of people from the committee might be a good way to flesh out some of the questions, some of the issues in preparation, be either a special meeting of the commission or a joint work session again with the committee. Some quick feedback on that.
Just one point.
Yes.
I'm not against that, but I do think there are probably two sets of feelings on this commission.
Sure.
One is that they would like to see this independent group established, and one is that they would not like to. Well, I think that's true.
I think you're right.
So until we decide as a commission what the majority want to do, it's hard to sit down and negotiate. Because as John says, the wheels are in motion. I mean, it started. Based on our last work session, they're moving off on their own, the Sister City program.
I was all for what Sarah's talking about. That's where I stood. Let's keep it with the city somehow,
Well, that's what I say we have to decide.
but I don't know how.
Well, in that case, as Do any of my fellow commissioners want to make a motion to set a special meeting to discuss this issue? Or a work session to discuss this issue? Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse.
I'll be happy to make the motion for a work session to discuss the issue.
Commissioner Reynolds, did you? Oh, no, that's okay. Commissioner Ryan?
Support the motion.
Okay. It was moved by Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse, seconded by Commissioner Ryan to set a special meeting to discuss the special meeting or work session. Probably a work session, I suppose, would be the advisable thing. To discuss Sister City. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or yes.
Oh,
Yes.
All opposed, no. Okay, it's
Old habits are hard to break.
unanimous, yes. So, Mr. Manager, your office will poll, and I'm sure we'd invite the Sister City Committee to join our work session, perhaps.
Happy to
It
help.
may go longer, but certainly it's integral to get your thinking at this,
Pizza again?
at this issue too. Pardon?
Pizza?
I don't think we had it last time, but it'd probably be good to have it this time.
I think we did last time with them.
Did we? Oh, maybe we did. I don't know. I don't remember. So, Commissioner Coyne.
Do you want to invite the people who are making the moves to incorporate it?
Sure.
To exclude them, you don't know what they're
Oh,
thinking, what they want to do.
No, I wouldn't want to exclude them, and you know, anyone is free to attend our work sessions or open meetings, but certainly it's a good point. I think if there are some mavericks that are out starting a 501c3, we ought to invite them too.
I'll be calling them Mavericks. As well.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Where are we? Thank you, Mr. Barsh. Thank you for the presentation. Yeah. We are now down to boards and committees. We have 3 new members, boards and committees. That would you meet me at the ceremonial lectern? This is a unique installation of boards and committee members this time, because you're all ex officio. And I guess that only means because you're not old enough to vote yet, you're ex officio. You can't be an official member of our committees, but we certainly welcome your participation. We welcome your volunteer. We look forward to you serving on the committees. We have some city pins here. Craig, we have a pin for you. You are going to be on the Sustainable Ad Hoc Committee, and we welcome your participation on that. Thank you. And next is Riley Coombs is on both Riley and Chloe are on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee ex officio members, and I welcome both of you to the committee. And thank you. And as I mentioned, these are Marquette Senior High School students who have volunteered to be ex officio members. And actually, when you register to vote, you can come back and we can appoint you to the committee. So if there's a vacancy, and we'd be certainly happy to do that. And in the meantime, we certainly applaud your willingness to participate, and we look forward to you having a enjoyable service on our committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is appointments. We have James Johnson to the Downtown Development Authority for a term January 1, 2014 to a term ending January 1, 2018. We also have a recommendation to submit E. Richard Schwemmen's name to the County Board for appointment to the Marquette County Transit Authority for a term ending December 31st, 2016, and a reappointment of Weston Pernsteiner to the Downtown Development Authority for a term ending 1/1/18. What is your pleasure, Commissioners? Commissioner Coyne?
I move we appoint all 3 of these to the respective committees.
Okay, is there a
Authorities.
second? Commissioner Cambenzi?
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Coyne, seconded by Commissioner Cambenzi to appoint all 3 members to the committees for the terms proposed. All in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no. The motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is public comment. There's 3 minutes per person. Give your name and address, and you may address the commission. Anyone interested in public comment? Oh.
Hello, you're a resident. Hey, James Gallant, Scandia, 538 Yelmer. I would like to say that concerning your ethics ordinance, I would thank you for doing that. And that the one thing is that you said there was public comment section during the work sessions, but those are like early morning meetings, right? But nobody showed up because they weren't on TV, but you know, they're like 8 o'clock in the morning. That might be the reason. And it would appear that you might want to ask Ron Keefe again, your city attorney, and he said that these ordinances are enforced just like any other ordinance, which would mean that then they would be reported to the chief of police as a violation of the ordinance. He would then investigate it, and then it would then go through like that. And it would appear also that you may have just subjected yourselves to the first 3 violations of the ethics ordinance, which is preferential treatment to these appointment folks and the reappointment folk, that you don't have any other, you didn't get applications, you just kind of preferential these folks right here, these 3, that you don't like vote, like take applications, you have 2 or 3 people. And reappointments are specifically forbidden in the rules. They were, unless it was changed. It said reappointments, no, you have to reapply for an appointment. It's in the rules. I thought it was. And also, I'd ask you to please consider approving a motion to rescind or to determine null and void the decision to approve the rules of procedure that you approved at your last meeting. Considering the rules of procedure and the second dropping of the second public comment, based on the contradiction to the fundamental principles of parliamentary law, and you could ask your parliamentarian to research this, is that the fundamental principle is there's one question at a time. A main motion can only be one question. And Commissioner Coyne obviously took advantage of everybody and made 2 questions out of the main motion. The motion to approve the rules of procedure and the deletion of the item. It's a double question. That's a fundamental principle. That's above the rules. It's a fundamental principle of parliamentary law, one motion at a time. So an appropriate way of doing that would have been to make a motion to approve and then get that seconded. And when he had his first session of debate, he could then say, I would like to amend it to drop the item that he wanted to drop. So then you vote on the amendment, and the main motion is still pending. The same one immediately pending question, which would be the main motion to approve. And, Your Honor, there's no requirement that you have to entertain motions. I've never seen a motion not entertained. It's kind of like they make the motion, you just entertain it. You just say, no, that's an improper motion. You'd like to make another one, that's fine. But that's improper motion. So, and, another fundamental principle is that, most of us probably teach our children, I know I did, was that 2 wrongs don't make a right. So him making an improper motion and you acknowledging it and allowing it doesn't make it a proper motion. And it's 2 questions. And a point of order would be the way to go. Just request a point of order and have them read the rule. Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Gallant. Any other citizens wishing to address the commission? Name and address, please.
My name is Mike Connolly, and I live at 500 East Ridge Street. And my property also borders on Lakeshore Boulevard. And these are my opinions. I support the comments at the last City Commission meeting of Mayor Nemi and Commissioner Coyne, speaking to the need to extend the prohibition of heavy trucking for the entire length of Lakeshore Boulevard instead of only the segment from South Front to Baraga Avenue, as is the case currently. Truck traffic along Lakeshore Boulevard has increased in the last 1 to 2 years. Currently, many heavy trucks per hour use Lakeshore Boulevard from before 5 a.m. until after 5 p.m. every weekday and on some weekends. It has become the major north-south truck route for those trucks heading from the south to the north of the city and vice versa. Some are logging trucks, full and empty. Some are hauling ash. Many are speeding. Many use Jake brakes to slow down at the curve at the Coast Guard station. When Lakeshore Boulevard is closed, those same trucks, including loaded logging trucks, use Ridge Street driving through a residential neighborhood. These trucks are putting an unusual load on a street not built for trucking. They create safety issues along our heavily used parks and beaches and create noise and traffic problems for nearby residents. By shortcutting through the city on Lakeshore Boulevard, these truckers, all from outside the city, are shifting costs to the taxpayers of the city. The problem has been ongoing. At the January 28, 2008 City Commission meeting, trucks were allowed to use Presque Isle, 3rd Street, Baraga Street, and Front Street until the County Road 492 realignment or completion of the County Road 510 bridge. Both of these have been completed. I asked the Commission to move forward with regulation of truck traffic, particularly along Lakeshore Boulevard. Now that there are other north-south routes available, we should also prohibit heavy trucks from shifting from Lakeshore to Front and 3rd Streets. I would also ask that any truck regulations specifically prohibit the use of unmuffled engine braking anywhere within the city limits and provide for enforcement and penalties for violating these rules. Even as we participate as a regional partner in transportation issues, we as a city must be able to determine what happens within our own city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Jeff Barreto, 350 East Ridge, Marquette. These are my opinions. Your own data read that rules changes were to be highlighted in blue. The elimination of closing comment wasn't not in the library packet. You likely discussed this at your special meetings, which we don't attend because they're not televised. We relied on the supplement. So now every syllable counts. No more misters. In your discourse, Ryan favored keeping the comment for things left unsaid. Campana agreed but wanted reasons. Before our eyes, we saw Coyne manipulate Dave's thinking by saying that people don't run because of the abuse and that they'd hear the same thing over and over, when in truth, new facts are presented each time. Coyne further stated that every member is berated, also untrue. He saw free speech as an inconvenience, complaining that people only attend televised meetings. The reason is you don't listen. At least there's an audience to inform. Plenty of people appreciate these comments. If they keep those from Coyne's reference group from running, it's a great success. His contacts are urged to please not run. They'll see that 3 minutes is more than enough to drive the point home. You see, up to now, I've saved the rough remarks for the end. Now they'll occur earlier when more people are in attendance and are watching at home. 4 of you exacerbated exactly what you're trying to avoid. We're allowed to speak as we please so long as we tell the truth and in a controlled fashion. To steal an opportunity from everyone because you refuse to account for yourselves is pure theft. Fred's reasoning about how little time other boards allow is bogus. The amount of time for closing comments was never a factor here. You stole those 3 minutes plus 2 last year to protect your images. Selfish as sin. Such drastic measure warrants that you probe the specifics. Take the dare. If I'm so wrong, why not address the record to get rid of me entirely? Prove the land use and performance accusations generally wrong. I'll apologize and resign. It's all on record, easy to access, impossible to lie. Your trouble is I speak too confidently and believably, and the comments stand the test of time to the detriment of your reputations. Hence the censorship. You rather censor the public for your own benefit than address specifics. Years ago, 10 perfect candidates lost interest in this board, not the ones Coyne referred to. He wants people of his ilk on the board to eliminate competition for the same reasons that he stole our closing comment and that he swayed Dave's vote. Fitting that the pharmacist took the word of the doctor. His first night on board, Dave stole half our democracy from us. What a pitiful start. He looked like a fish out of water. He'll learn that Coyne's main concern is how he appears, as evident from his reaction when he thought I'd sneered at him in front of someone. It upset him enough to threaten me harm 3 distinct times in the men's room. What did you have in mind, Mike?
Any other citizens wishing to address the commission?
Hello, my name's Nicole DeWald, 140 and a half Rock Street. I'm here to take the public comment opportunity to address the commission on an update from the Recreation Authority Ad Hoc Committee. And it's item number 13 on the agenda today. So to kind of give our new commissioners an update, we are a multi-jurisdictional ad hoc committee. We have two representatives from the city of Marquette, 2 from Chocolate Township, and 2 from Marquette Township. And we had a timeline of 18 months to do a feasibility study on a recreation feasibility plan. We are asking for a 60-day extension as of this point. The first steps in our process was to research what kind of rec authority all parties would be interested in being a part of. So the ad hoc committee researched parks and rec inventories of all jurisdictions. Through that data mining, we found that trails were the common theme across the board. And then about that time, we did receive a grant through the City of Marquette Parks and Rec Department to hire a consultant to help us with our feasibility study. I think that happened probably around the end of August, beginning of September. So it did give us a short timeline to work with the consultant. We did do a public meeting, and it had a great outcome of attendees. Leah formed a draft of recommendations in November, and the ad hoc committee looked at that draft, and through the scoping process, we had additional questions and asked that the previous data mining that we did as a committee be added to that study. So that is where our request is basically rooted as a recommendation to have a 60-day extension. December 12th, we have a meeting with Leah again. They are hopeful for January 13th to 16th having a public forum and presenting to the municipalities. We acknowledge they're optimistic the completion date as the end of January. Despite that, we the committee feel that additional 30 days for review prior to the submission to the municipalities is necessary. Thank you.
Mr. Wald, would you like to, when we take up the item, would you like to address us also, or would you be able to answer questions?
Yes.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission during citizen comment?
My name is Mike Beck, resident of the city of Marquette. I just want to make a brief comment. You've passed ordinance here about conduct and ethics. And please make no mistake, I'm as big of a supporter of arts, culture, sister city relationships as anybody. And I would suggest that we continue strong efforts in that part on the part of the city. But at the same time, I may be a little confused, and I have not read the ordinance, but it seems that Commissioner Kimsey suggesting that the city would look for grants to help further the causes of the sister city committee, or perhaps to try to work with work sessions to try to prevent the 501(c) from forming on their own behalf to act as a nonprofit. This would be looking at special interests, and you've already created the appearance of conflicts of interest in looking at things and giving them preferential treatment. So I, as a citizen, am a little bit concerned, but I just wanted to mention that and bring that up. Perhaps it's not a big deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens wishing to address the commission? Hearing none, we'll close citizen comment and we'll proceed to the agenda. The first item is unfinished business, Marquette Junior Hockey Storage Space Agreement.
Consent agenda, Your Honor.
Sorry.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, yes. Okay. We have the consent agenda, approved minutes, approved total bills payable, surplus equipment sale, Sheriff's Pool slide, Marquette Figure Skating Club, and submit that to the next meeting. Acceptance of utilities and utility easement for Southwoods Apartments. Fellow Commissioners, what is your pleasure on this item? Commissioner
I move we approve the consent agenda with one exception, with two exceptions in the bills payable that we not include in this motion, an expense payment to Commissioner Stonehouse and to Commissioner Nemi for representing the city at a function out of town.
Coyne? Second the motion. It was moved by Commissioner Ryan, second by Commissioner Coyne to approve the consent agenda, sans the two checks that are payable to myself and Commissioner Stonehouse. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. The the yeses have it. It's approved unanimously. Now we have the issue of 2 checks to the aforementioned commissioners. What's the pleasure of the commission? Commissioner Ryan?
I would move we approve a payment of the expense checks to Commissioner Stonehouse in the amount of $42 and Commissioner Nemi in the amount of $331.08.
Commissioner Coyne? Support. Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Ryan, supported by Commissioner Coyne, to approve the checks to Commissioners Nemi and Stonehouse, and I assume allow us to abstain from voting. So, all in favor say yes.
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 All opposed say no. And I abstain.
Abstain.
Commissioner Stonehouse abstains, so the motion is approved on 5 affirmative votes and 2 abstentions. Now we are to unfinished business. We have the Marquette Junior Hockey Storage Space Agreement. City Clerk, would you read the background, please?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The proposed lease agreement was introduced at the November 25th, 2013 meeting. Marquette Junior Hockey Corporation has requested the City Commission's consideration in leasing storage space at Lakeview Arena. The City Attorney has drafted a standard lease agreement which provides for the terms and conditions of the request. The monthly rent payments shall be $112.50. The term of the lease is 3 years. Fiscal effect, the Lakeview Arena Fund will receive $1,350 in revenue for FY 2013-14. Recommendation, approve the lease agreement with Marquette Junior Hockey Corporation for storage space at Lakeview Arena for the period of October 1st, 2013 through March 31st, 2016 at the rate of $112.50 per month, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, what is your pleasure regarding this item? Mr. Ryan?
I move we approve the recommendation.
Okay, is there a second? Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Ryan, second by Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse, to approve the agreement with Marquette Junior Hockey Storage Space Agreement. All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed say no. The motion is approved unanimously. Next item is rules and regulations for City of Marquette marinas and boat launching facilities. City Clerk, read the background, please.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Background. The City Commission has adopted rules and regulations for City of Marquette marinas and boat launching facilities. The Harbor Advisory Committee is requesting the City Commission consider amending Rule 3.06 seasonal boats. The proposed language requires seasonal slip holders who are permitted a tender, that is a dinghy or a jet ski, to provide the city a copy of the tender registration and proof of insurance. The Harbor Advisory Committee reviewed the proposed policy language at their November 12, 2013 meeting and made the following motion. It was moved by Connolly and seconded by Frack to approve the proposed rule edition 3.06 and pass it along to the City Commission. Fiscal effect. There is no fiscal effect with this action. Recommendation, adopt rule 3.06 seasonal boats as amended. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, what is your pleasure regarding this item?
Somebody else's turn.
Commissioner Reynolds?
I motion we approve the recommendation to adopt Rule 3.06 seasonal boats as amended.
Okay, is there a second? Commissioner Kamenzi, thank you.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Reynolds, second by Commissioner Kamenzi to approve the rules for the city marina.
Your Honor, in the act of transparency, I do usually keep a boat at the Cinder Pond that does indeed have a tender.
Okay.
So I would ask whether that should exclude me from voting or not.
No, you can vote on this.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion, Commissioner Reynolds?
No further discussion.
Kamenzi?
Just that this is a recommendation from the Harbor Advisory Committee.
Campana?
It looks like it makes sense, but why are they doing it? I mean, why are they adding this? Why do they need a registration proof of insurance, which probably explains itself, but it was never in there. Now you're adding it. Why are you adding it?
I think I can speak to that as staff. The Harbor Advisory Committee moved to amend this rule so that all dinghies or jet skis are registered to the slip holder within the slip to avoid the possibility of someone having a vessel that's not registered or insured to the person who is renting that slip.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Any further comments? Mr. Conley, would you like to comment on that?
I'd be glad to. It was just based on the observation that there were some slip renters that were kind of shortcutting around the system and allowing their. This was based on the observation that from the marina manager and then passed on by staff that there were some slip holders that were renting a slip and then allowing friends who weren't paying to use some unused space on the slip, and that was not the intent of the rule. And this is just—it's not a major thing. It's fine tuning, just to follow through with the original intent of the rules and make those that are using the marina pay for the marina.
Thank you, Mr. Conley. Any further comments by any commissioners? Okay. I'll call the question then. All in favor of the motion, say yes.
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 Any opposed to the motion, say no. The motion is approved unanimously. The next item is Regional Recreational Authority Business Plan Ad Hoc Committee Extension Request. City Clerk?
Thank you, Your Honor. Background, the representatives on the Regional Recreation Authority Business Plan Ad Hoc Committee have requested the Commission consideration on extending their appointments an additional 60 days. The committee was given a timeline of 18 months, which expires at the end of the calendar year in 2013. However, members of each municipality are respectfully asking for an extension in order to complete the feasibility report. Attached are memorandums from the city's appointees and consultant justifying the request. Fiscal effect, no anticipated financial effects associated with the request. Recommendation, extend the appointments of Nicole DeWald and Jessica Jones to the Regional Recreation Authority Business Plan Ad Hoc Committee for an additional 60 days or until March 1st, 2014. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. What is your pleasure, Commissioners? Commissioner Ryan?
I would move we extend the appointments of Nicole DeWald and Jessica Jones to the Regional Recreation Authority Business Plan Ad Hoc Committee for an additional 60 days or until March 1st, 2014.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Commissioner Cambenzi?
I'll second that.
Commissioners Ryan, anything further?
Well, I think Nicole DeWald kind of explained what was happening very clearly, but I think this group has been working very seriously trying to move this project forward, and certainly we should give them an opportunity to bring it to conclusion, and hopefully a positive conclusion that takes us beyond 60 days and with some good things moving forward.
Cambenzi?
I have one question, and that was during our agenda setting meeting, we talked about the possibility of the DNR grants and possibly looking at putting some of that land into perpetuity where we could get reimbursed at fair market value. So that is very appealing to me. I'm sure other commissioners looking at what we're spending on the Heartwood and possibly what we could get reimbursed for. So I guess, is there any update on that? Because that deadline is April 1st. And I believe, I don't know if John can
that's
talk
correct.
about that. But I mean, this is something that I guess as a commissioner, I'd like to know if there's anything I can be doing to help plan or if there's anything we can be doing to help, I guess, make sure that we're ready. Should that be part of the plan?
At this point, we're still working with the consultant. We're still working with Leah and sort of following within their recommendations for all the municipalities. We're also working with the city staff and have received really good guidance from them as far as the right protocol and procedures where we'll take it public. I believe there is an opportunity to present to the specific municipalities, the city board, and the other township boards prior to the public forum. But again, I think those are things that we'll work through city staff and Leah with to know what order of meetings will come. Of course, attendance at the meetings and input at those points will be extremely helpful, and we're essentially seeking your approval on all of this. So participation at the meetings that we're hopefully going to be scheduling within the next month will be really appreciated. So, but we're excited to see the outcome too. We're really hoping that some solid funding opportunities will be presented within the consultant's recommendations. So.
Okay, because part of that, I guess what's worrying me are, and we talk about it often, are the red and purple areas that we're kind of sitting on as a city. And so, I mean, to me, it's like if there's anything we can be doing, or do we wait for that meeting? I mean, it's...
As a committee, and again, being a feasibility committee, and Nikki, speak up if you think I'm answering anything incorrectly, but we have worked really closely. Even recently, Nikki and I have sat down with city staff in particular so that we are mapping out essentially what our committee is calling mapping the ideal for the future, be it in phases or be it all together one lump. But the sensitivity that we're also trying to balance with this is that this has to be approved with 3 municipalities. And then what ties in with that is the funding. So that's what we're trying to, again, get the recommendation from Leah on knowing what would be best to present to the public. So again, maybe it's a phased plan. Maybe it'll be a one lump plan. But again, I think our work with the city staff has been really helpful because they've been able to give us the right tools and resources. Carl and John and Mr. Vida also has been helpful in that regard. So as far as looking at all of the map and all of the property, we are doing that. We're trying to move towards, again, just one big map. So it's not purple and red and green and all different colors, but one big plan that the authority would be presented under. So I think that we are getting really great and appropriate and helpful input from the city staff, for Nikki and I anyhow, as the city designees, and how that intersects then with the other townships is where, again, we need to strike the balance so that this could be hopefully something all jurisdictions would want to approve with the boards. And then again, if there was ever a public millage or other types of public funding that needed to be approved. So it's kind of, again, you're looking at all the different demographics that we need to include and take into consideration when we're putting together this plan. That's why we feel that we're trying to really hold Leah accountable to make sure they're giving us a product that's worthy of putting before all of you.
Okay.
Jones, could you explain what Leah is? It's not a mysterious female on the
Oh,
committee.
I'm so sorry. Land, let me see. I have the memo. It has the title, Land Information Access Association. They're based out of Traverse City, and that was done with an RFP through the city as far as finding the consultant that would work best for us.
Mr. Stonehouse?
Question, are you looking at other trail? I mean, what trails are you looking at?
Really all trails, and it comprehensive of everything from something that could include or we be included with them or they be included with us eventually, like the Iron Ore Heritage Trail, which is a paved trail, but really all natural. And I think the way they say it in the green space, and there's some term that they used in all of the recreation and master plans that we looked at from Chocolate, Marquette Township, and Marquette City, vertical park or something like that, horizontal park. Maybe
So it's more than just the Heartwood Forest?
Oh, yes,
Okay,
yep.
thank you.
And so are all those properties.
I'm sorry. Sarah?
Just 2 other questions. Is this type of grant funding, is it something you apply for once? It's not typically something you do in phases, right? It's a kind of a one-time.
Yeah, it's a one-time application
You're talking about the Michigan Land Trust
Yes,
grant,
yeah.
specifically?
Yeah.
for the trust fund.
Yeah.
DNR trust fund grant. Yeah.
Okay, the only other question I have is, and this was before I got on the city commission, but we did say we were going to hold public forums for the red and purple areas, and we haven't done anything on that. We haven't done anything in a year since I've been on here, and now we're going to get another report that contradicts our ad hoc advisory committee, and I I feel like we're not doing too much on our end, and if staff is doing something, I guess I'd like to hear a little more on what staff is doing, because I think there are a lot of people in the community kind of wondering what we're doing with Heartwood beyond the rec authority. And so I hope that we're not losing that in this, because I think there are a lot of people out there looking to see what we're doing. And I guess that's my last comment.
Any other comments? Hopefully no more comments. I just have one quick comment. I think trails are important, but I would hope that the Recreation Authority is looking at all forms of recreation, not just trails.
Mm-hmm. So for 18 months, one, I've been learning the name of our committee. Just kidding. And for two, we did do a lot of data mining. So part of that was looking at what would surface to the top for all three municipalities, since that's the charge we were given as far as working with those other jurisdictions. So we definitely looked at all of that. And I think what we felt that we found through looking at the statistics and the data itself is that this was something that floated to the top often, so much that became the sole focus. It's not to say that other authorities or looking at brick and mortar facilities as an authority wouldn't work. Quite the contrary. I think that if we could make it work on something that is a very focused, I hate to call it the low hanging, but something that is very sole focused, so that we're keeping it simple, then we could start to expand and broaden as far as what could work again with an authority, looking more at municipalities and possibly more so operations and management facilities within, again, those similar jurisdictions, and maybe broader than that. But I think to use something as a working example, and then hopefully with that going well, you move on to other objectives. So definitely, we looked at all of that. So that's where we decided with our timeline and the committee itself, we tried to keep it a little bit more focused on the trails and widen the scope from there.
There's going to be a business plan coming to us?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
By the end of January, supposedly. But that's the schedule we've attached, but that's why we're asking for the extension, because we want to make sure that's a really solid plan prior to going public and presenting beyond the boards.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a motion, okay. City Clerk, would you please read the motion?
Hold on one second. The motion is to extend the appointments of Nicole DeWald and Jessica Jones to the Regional Recreation Authority Business Plan Ad Hoc Committee for an additional 60 days or until March 1st, 2014. And that motion has already been made by Commissioner Ryan and supported by Commissioner Kambenzi.
Thank you, City Clerk. I'll ask for the question. All in favor of the motion, say yes.
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 Any opposed to the motion, say no. The motion is passed unanimously. Okay, we're done with the business portion of our agenda, and we now have comments from the commission. We'll start with Commissioner Reynolds.
I just wanted to welcome the new members to the commissions, and I'm excited that there's the ex officio high school students that have taken an interest in the government. I'm happy that Arts and Culture made the presentation, and I hope they keep up the good work and keep going what they got going. And I really hope that in the next coming weeks we can make sense of this Sister Advisory Committee, because it's concerning to me. And the only other thing I wanted to note, somebody mentioned it earlier, is that when somebody is reappointed to the commission, they do have to reapply to a commission outside of the city. And that is all.
Thank you, Commissioner Reynolds. Commissioner Ryan?
Yeah, I was really pleased with the arts and culture presentation tonight, as I think we all were. I think it's moving in a very good direction. We're pleased to see, or I'm pleased to see, I should say, the committee really getting its act together and moving forward. I think it's a very positive thing. And I think the master planning process, which is underway, is going to make it even better. I think there's probably a lot of confused people who might be watching us about the Sister City Advisory Committee, because a lot of things were said here tonight, and a lot of it grew out of a previous work session held by this commission when Some commissioners were suggesting that it would be better if they went off and formed their own independent group. Some commissioners held a different view, and I don't think we've ever fully resolved what the majority opinion is on the commission. But it's, until we get that resolved, it's very difficult to move forward. But we have so many people who worked so long, so hard on this project. You know, it's really been a wonderful project. And, you know, despite the kinds of committee issues we've had through the city, these relationships have been outstanding with the cities in Japan and Finland, and we certainly want to maintain those. And I think it's, you know, as we go forward, it's going to be important to understand that if in fact they are going to be sister cities with the city of Marquette, then the city of Marquette has to have some involvement in that process. So I think it's important we do that. I guess I'd also like to mention that one of our audience members tonight talked about trucks in the city. You know, the reason that happens is we don't have any truck routes. And, you know, if we would adopt a truck route, we could take care of that problem. But I think it has to be a reasonable truck route. And, you know, this commission spent a lot of money on McClellan Avenue, and I think it was designed to be a truck route. And if we gave trucks coming from the north the opportunity to travel on McClellan Avenue, I think we could then establish that as a truck route and take traffic off of 3rd Street and Lakeshore and all the other streets. That's not great news for the folks on McClellan Avenue, but you know, it's what's been in the plan for a long time, and the only reason it's not being done is because we have not taken that step as a city commission. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Coyne.
Thank you. In follow-up to Mike Conley's comments, I agree. And we had the chief of police check the ordinances that are in existence now. And were we to change them, we would then shift all the traffic to 3rd Street, 4th Street, whatever. And we need, as Commissioner Ryan said, a truck ordinance to direct traffic into the proper streets. So I think that's coming soon. And thank you for bringing it up. Just a comment on the sister city thing. Maybe my comments stirred all this controversy, but the fact is it's not working very well right now. And the fact is that the Sister City program was not started by the city. It was started by a few individuals through the Marquette Rotary Club. And for some reason, which I don't know, they then wanted to get out of that and ask the city to do it. So it is possible for another agency to do this, but even when, I mean, the problem is the city really hasn't stepped up and said, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to commit resources. If you think about the inequities when people go to Japan, I'm not sure about Finland, but the city there tremendously supports this exchange compared to what we do, which is essentially nothing financially or resource-wise. So we have to decide what to do, and I think Mr. Barsh clearly said we don't have any control over what people do, but we do have a control over, do we want a sister city advisory committee? And I don't think anyone says we don't want anything to do with it. This, to echo and not repeat what Don said, it is a great program and we want it to continue, and we need to relook at how we can do it better, period. Thank you.
Commissioner Kimbenzi.
Thank you. I'd like to respond to Mr. Conley's comment regarding the truck route too. It is something that's been needed for probably 30 plus years, if not longer. And serving as one of the commissioners on the subcommittee trying to find this regional solution is certainly something that's going to help us in the short term. It's extremely complex and touchy, and we're getting there. I feel confident that soon all jurisdictions will kind of have the same take on it, and this is monumental. I mean, it's something that has taken, I think, all of us in the surrounding jurisdictions to come together and say we want a solution. We understand the city's perspective, we understand the township, and it needs to be long-term. And so I think we're getting there. I think, it's my hope that within a short time we will have something for the residents, because I live right off of 3rd Street and I feel your pain when those logging trucks go by and my whole house shakes. And it's daily, so it's not fun. The only other comment I have, I wasn't at the last meeting, and if I was, I would have voted to not drop or limit public comment in any way. I'm not a fan of doing that. I think that's our job here. I don't believe in punishing the community for what a few people do to perhaps get under our skin. I think our meetings are long. I signed up for this, but there is value in listening to people, and I'm going to be the first to admit that I can learn from everyone and everyone that has something to say. So, again, I would not be in favor of that had I been here. And it's my hope that we will look at this again in the future, even though I don't think we would have a majority vote. But I'd like to thank everyone for their comments on that, because I do think it's important when you're elected that you remember you're elected by the people and you work for the people.
Thank you, Commissioner Cambezi. Commissioner Campana.
Okay, on a lighter note, I know this is a Marquette meeting, but I think that we should, I for one would like to congratulate the Ishpeming football team for winning back-to-back state titles 2 weekends ago. They had a storybook season. They have a very good team of good young men. They got a good coaching staff, and they got some tremendous fans in Ishpeming, and they represented us well. I think anytime a team of any sort goes downstate and does well, it makes us all proud, and they really accomplished something great. Coming back to Marquette, Thursday night I was able to see the DDA had a parade. It was a very good Christmas parade, well done, and lots of people, and even though the conditions were frigid. And I even got into the arts and culture program that they had at the library. They had some painters displaying and artists displaying, and they had a piano recital. And I mean, if I can appreciate it, anybody can appreciate it. And it's just in such a nice setting too. I mean, it's such a beautiful library, and the downstairs is set up really nice. So they're doing a good job. Thank you.
Commissioner Stonehouse.
Just a couple of quick things, if I can. Boards and committees, again, folks, we need your help. We have vacancies and openings, and we need you to step forward and become a member and help the city of Marquette move forward. So please consider that. Sister City, we certainly want to keep those guys going. They've been a real asset to the community for a very long time. But I will only caution folks, as we had this discussion tonight, there's a whole lot of things and a whole lot of detail that simply was not presented and could not be presented. And it's going to take some time for us to chew through that. So just don't judge everything by the comments made necessarily tonight or the appearance, because there's a lot of detail there that well, I'm sure we'll get back into in the work session. Truck route and trying to fix the problems, I have every belief that we're going to do it soon. I have every belief that we're going to do that. It's been overhanging us for a very long time. The city, in my view, should have done it a long, long time ago. That we did not, we didn't. And it's becoming more and more critical. We need to address it. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse. The Sister City Committee, we talked a lot about it. We've got, as Commissioner Ryan pointed out, we've got many views, and I'm heartened by Mr. Barsh's final comment saying that regardless of how hard we try to screw it up, the Sister City Committee will continue on, and the efforts will continue on. And I don't mean that flippantly. It's a we all have our own ideas, our own views, and they all need to be heard. And until we reach consensus, it seems like we're making hamburgers. So but I guess that's democracy. But I thank Mr. Barsh and his committee. It's that's a committee that's been carrying it on for 25 years, and I guess they're not going to stop anytime soon. So we can be heartened by that. I echo Commissioner Campana's congratulations to the Ishpeming Hematites. I think it's great whenever something from the UP is successful, we can always ride on the coattails, and we're all one unique area. We can all cherish that fact, and I appreciate their work, and probably ought to send some of them down to MSU, and the football program is rebuilding. I want to also congratulate the Spartans for taking the Big Ten and beating Ohio State. Anytime you beat Ohio State, it's a successful season. Anytime you beat Michigan, it's a successful season. They had a spectacularly successful season, and hopefully everyone will be watching that on the new year. So I guess that's all I have for now. Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Your Honor. On behalf of staff, of course, we'd like to thank the Commission for your great support this evening. Also like to extend our thanks to the delegates from Marquette Senior High School. They're doing our community proud by stepping up, and I hope we're looking at leaders coming in the future from those ranks. Wanted to remind everybody there's community office hours on Wednesday, 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock in the community conference room on the first floor of Peter White Public Library, and would invite anybody to come down and have a chat about their thoughts and ideas on Marquette and how we can make it better. And a reminder that this is the month out of the year where we have back-to-back city commission meetings, and the next one will be held next Monday, same time, same place, same channel. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, and next time I won't predict how long the meeting's going to go.